council. The committee recommends that staff make the changes discussed and the schedule be adopted. Community services. The committee reviewed festival reports from 2023. The cost of the Salmon Festival was $50,135 net of revenue generated. The cost of the Culinary Festival was $3,553 net of revenue generated, and the Poutine Festival earned $5,227 net of expenses incurred. The financial summary for all these festivals were considered to be on budget, and council was pleased with the results. Rezoning requests, 222 Renfrew Heights. The committee reviewed submissions from residents opposed to the rezoning of 222 Renfrew Heights to allow a third apartment in vacant commercial space. The request is to change the zone from commercial neighborhood to RM1 residential low and medium density multi-unit residential zone. The committee recommends the rezoning request process proceed. Fire Department Incident Summary. The committee reviewed the Fire Department Incident Summary report for the period ending November 28, 2023. The report summarized 165 incident responses. The committee members were pleased with the detailed incident summary report and acknowledged that it reflects a busy year for the fire department. Council extends its thanks and appreciation for the dedication and professionalism shown by all members of the fire department. Exploit Search and Rescue Team donation request. The committee reviewed correspondence from Exploit Search and Rescue soliciting a donation towards the purchase of a new vehicle that will be used primarily for ice rescue and equipment transport. The committee is very much interested in supporting this request and recommends that staff contact Exploit Search and Rescue leadership to discuss their financial need and report back to the committee. Grand Falls House Foundation. The committee reviewed correspondence from the Grand Falls House Foundation requesting financial support towards the redevelopment of the Grand Falls House in 2024. The committee recommends that the request be considered during the budget process and that staff follow up with the foundation executive after that time. Disbursement report. The committee reviewed the disbursement report for the period ending December 7, 2023 in the amount of $1,181,212.69. The committee recommends this report be received by council. Labor report. The committee reviewed the labor report for the period ending week 48, showing a current surplus of $300,690 from within a total budget of $3,740,719. The committee thanks staff for the responsible management of the labor budget and recommends that management continue to monitor it as the year ends in 3 weeks. Taxation receivables analysis. The committee reviewed the taxation receivable analysis report for the period ending November 20th, 2023. Total current receivables are $2,638,987 in comparison to $2,544,618 as the same period in 2022. This is an increase of $94,369. The committee recommends that staff continue with their efforts to collect receivables and continue to report progress to the committee. Water quality report. The committee hosted staff from All North Consultants Limited to discuss concerns about discolored water reports from some residential areas in Grand Falls-Windsor. All North have been reviewing areas identified by staff and considered themselves approximately 70% complete in their work and analysis. The committee expects a final report in the first quarter of 2024 and will meet again with All North Consultants Limited at that time. Budget 2024. The committee discussed budget requirements for 2024 and recommends staff make final changes to the budget based on discussions and finalize the budget to be presented at the council meeting on December 19, 2023. The meeting adjourned at 8:45 p.m. and I'll move the recommendations and report to this committee.
Okay, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Brown, seconded by Councilor Dwyer. Any discussion or comments on the committee of the whole minutes? Councillor Cody, then Councillor Knoll. Sorry, Councillor Cody. Go ahead.
Thank you. Just an update or comment on the water quality report from All North Consultants Limited. That was an excellent meeting, and we got a lot of information from the consultants on the work that they've done to date, some of the improvements that they are recommending, some possible, I don't want to say solutions because it might not be a solution yet, but some suggestions as to what could provide some solutions down the road for some of the areas that are experiencing discolored water. They've been working with Jason, our supervisor, water supervisor, and Jason's been a tremendous asset to them. They stated that in the meeting, which is great to hear because we've known that. And these, the water quality issues that some of our residents are experiencing have been very stressful, not just for the residents, but for the staff. We're trying to find out what could possibly be causing those issues. So it's great that Jason is working with them hand in hand, that the information that Jason is providing to them is helping them form a plan for us moving forward. We understand that, again, this remains extremely frustrating for the residents who are experiencing discolored water, but we are committed to finding resolutions and solutions to problems. We'll continue, even after the consultant presents their report to us, we'll continue to work to make sure that we resolve them around town. A couple of water breaks, or a water break in town today, which I'm sure caused some disruption to some residents, 2 water breaks. And I know that we did put in a flushing line near Muir too, I believe it was. So we're working, trying to alleviate these issues because, again, it is of great concern to our residents and of great concern to council. So the consultant was, an excellent choice for us to move forward with. They're doing great work. We looked at the planning, we looked at a new flushing program, tons of recommendations coming to council once they complete this report that we'll work to implement and hopefully improve the water quality to the residents who have been experiencing some trouble. Thank you.
And hopefully some of the work you mentioned may help in the interim, and Queen Street as well, I think, had similar work done as the Muir Avenue area. Water breaks this time of year, spring as well, they tend to be pretty frequent just because of the weather. I heard the forecast today, I think they said in lag west today, it was dropping to a low of 7. And I said, it's a week before Christmas and it's a low of 7 in lag west, so I don't know how long that'll last, but just goes to show how our temperatures are kind of all over the place compared to where they used to be. And of course, George Saunders, our superintendent as well, worked closely with the consultants who already had a lot of familiarity with our system, so that was helpful. And as you said, it was a very good meeting, and we look forward to the final report and looking for good things to come from that. So thanks for that. Any other comments, discussion on the Committee of the Whole minutes? Hearing none. Just quickly, Health Coalition was mentioned there. Just want to take a brief second to thank all the people who have decided to return to the committee, particularly Cyril Farrell, who's been the chair of that committee now going into his 3rd year as the chair. And as I've said many times before, I cannot tell you how much work that Mr. Farrell has done on behalf of that coalition, on behalf of council, and of course on behalf of the residents, and has done a wonderful job. I know recently there was media attention around Gander and their 5-year plan with healthcare, but a lot of the things that they're doing are things that we've been implementing and already doing for the last few years. So it's good to see that our coalition is hard at work, and I know we have had some turnover, so for those who served and are no longer with us, I want to thank them as well. I know council agrees when I say they've been a huge, huge help. And Councillor Dwyer, of course, is our representative on that committee and can attest to that for sure. So keep up the good work, and thanks to everybody there. The festivals, just a quick note, because it doesn't state there, but the Salmon Festival, of course, we budget $50,000 for the Salmon Festival each year for the last a number of years, with the exception of COVID, I guess, when we couldn't have one. So, you know, to be able to hit that target and then those other numbers to be good overall looks like a net positive. And, you know, what we get from those festivals, of course, with visitation from out of town and people who take part themselves, citizens, is just great. So good job by staff on that. And the fire department and search and rescue, both mentioned in a minute, so I can't help but say Merry Christmas to all those in the fire department and the search and rescue particularly, who we rely so heavily upon, especially in emergency situations. Okay, last chance, if you have any other comments on the committee of the whole minutes. Hearing none, we're going to move her in a seconder. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Any notice of motion? Don't notice a motion. Okay, so we will move into the budget 2024. So we do have a couple of separations as per normal that we'll deal with up front before we get into the meat of the budget. But now I'll turn it over to our corporate services, or otherwise known as our finance chair, Councillor Dwyer. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Will you be excusing?
You're going to make a motion there to deal with that separately, right? So we'll need a motion to separate the Corridor Brook from the minutes.
Okay. I move that the grant proposed by the CBEA during budget deliberations in the amount of $40,000 be approved for 2024.
And first, though, I'll ask you to make a motion to remove it from the overall budget, if you would, Councillor Dwyer. We'll have to do that with both.
Okay.
We'll ask for a motion, go through that process of having it officially separated.
Okay.
And
yeah.
then I'll leave and you can deal with Corridor Brook, and
Okay.
then the deputy mayor will leave and you can deal with the golf course.
I make a motion to remove the grant proposed for the CBEA from the budget.
Okay, it's moved by Councillor Dwyer. Need a seconder, Councillor Little. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, you may as well go ahead and separate the other one now, Councillor Dwyer.
Sure. I move to remove the grant for the Grand Falls Golf Club to be removed from the budget as well.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Councillor Cody. Any discussion on the second motion to separate? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, so now I will excuse myself for a short period, I presume.
Okay, well, let the records show that Mayor Emanuel has excused himself from this portion of the meeting. Mr. Finn and Councillor Dwyer, please.
I move that the grant proposed for the CBEA during budget deliberations in the amount of $40,000 be approved for 2024.
Get a motion. Can I get a second for the motion, please? Councillor Hiscock. Any discussion with respect to the motion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Guess we can ask the mayor to step back in.
Okay, we'll move into the next item. When the deputy mayor excuses himself. When you're ready.
I move that the grants proposed for the Grand Falls Golf Club during budget deliberations totaling $27,000 be approved for 2024.
Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Councillor Little. Any discussion on the grant for the golf course?
Just for clarification, the $27,000 and represents 25,000 operating grant and 2,000 for the junior golf program.
Right. Okay, thanks for clarification. Anything else? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Well, Councillor Dwyer, when you're ready, please.
As Chair of the Corporate Services Committee, it's my pleasure to present the 2024 municipal operating budget for the town of Grand Falls-Windsor. The late Mr. Gordon Pinsent once said that the qualities and values of an earlier time are still deep within the people of Grand Falls-Windsor. Those values and qualities are kept front of mind for councillors and staff of the town of Grand Falls-Windsor when providing municipal services to our residents and businesses. As councillors, we take pride in representing you, the residents, and ensuring that you have a voice. Our staff take great pride in the work they complete, and it's evident in the quality of services delivered. These services include snow clearing, garbage collection, fire and enforcement protection, road maintenance, and water and sewer services. Our Community Services Department continues to plan inclusive events for our citizens to enjoy and feel connected. Your quality of life is a measure of our success. Here, citizens and visitors of all ages and backgrounds can access beautifully maintained parks, playgrounds, and trails, and have access to many recreation amenities, both indoor and outdoor. These are just some of the reasons Grand Falls-Windsor is the community of choice for citizens and prospective residents. The inflationary pressures felt by all citizens also have an impact on the services provided to the residents and businesses of Grand Falls-Windsor. Completing the same amount of work as prior years or running the same events costs more money, which puts pressure on our budget. Council continues to do their best to limit the taxation burden for residents while still trying to balance the need for growth and capital investment. With that said, there will be no change to the residential or commercial property tax mill rates in 2024. We've scrutinized our budget to ensure it contains only the expenses necessary to provide the level of service that the residents of this town have come to expect and deserve. What remains in the budget is the result of hours of deliberation, which has led to a fiscally responsible budget. Some taxpayers may see a higher bill in 2024 caused by assessments of properties in Grand Falls-Windsor increasing by an average of about 7%. This additional revenue was factored into the decision to leave the mill rates the same for 2024. Council priorities, housing and land development. An emerging critical issue facing communities throughout the country is a lack of housing and a lack of affordable housing. Here, in this community, we are not immune to this issue, and we will work within our municipal scope to alleviate housing concerns. Staff have already been meeting with local developers about expansion and how the town of Grand Falls-Windsor can help. We have recently submitted an application to the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation for a Housing Accelerator Fund. Our application is for funding that's intended to stimulate an additional 280 living units in several areas of town. This funding will allow Grand Falls-Windsor to further plan and invest in infrastructure as a first step for these local developments. With Marathon Gold starting their operations and other future possible developments on the horizon, such as wind energy projects, local housing needs will continue to grow, particularly in Grand Falls-Windsor, the regional hub. With funding in place, the town can help stimulate the right type of construction with proper planning and long-term goals in mind. It will create opportunities for affordable housing and some higher density living in addition to the traditional single-family dwellings. Accessibility. In 2024, accessibility will be a focus of Council. We are committed to our role in creating an accessible community and removing barriers for everyone, especially those with perceived disabilities, whether those needs are functional, technical, or emotional. Comprehensive planning and community engagement will be paramount to ensure our facilities and events provide equitable access to everyone, promoting usability and inclusivity. Through the implementation of an Accessibility Advisory Committee, Council intends to undertake measures that align with the province's recent Accessibility Act and work to better understand challenges and meet the needs that exist within our community. As accessibility legislation continues to grow and evolve, the town of Grand Falls-Windsor will remain vigilant in using high-quality tools and consulting to improve overall community accessibility and to strive for a barrier-free environment for citizens. Some of the accessibility measures already in place to date include accessible equipment in our playgrounds, designated parking for those with disabilities at town facilities, accessible seating in the Joe Byrne Memorial Stadium, a new notification platform with accessibility features, the Pride Crosswalk on High Street, and the Seven Feathers Crosswalk next to the Demasduit Regional Museum, among many others. In the upcoming year, we have budgeted $60,000 for a wheelchair lift for the town hall and $50,000 for an accessible kayak launch at Gorge Park. We also plan to add a ramp to the gazebo in Gorge Park and upgrade the paved walkway at Church Road Park to accommodate citizens with mobility issues. Water infrastructure. In 2024, the town will continue to upgrade our water distribution system and further evaluate the need for improvements at the water treatment plant. Aging water infrastructure is widely known as the most common water challenge faced by Newfoundland communities, and our municipal water infrastructure is no different. Therefore, we have an ongoing need for significant investment and improvement. We understand that residents expect clean drinking water, and it's one of Council's top priorities to ensure we meet that expectation. We have recently hired a consultant to help evaluate some areas with water distribution issues, and we will continue to work with them in 2024 to ensure solutions are found and the corresponding work planned. We have budgeted capital funds towards water and sewer projects totaling $4.6 million that will help improve infrastructure in 2024. As the administrator for water supply and water treatment plant, the town ensures it has experienced and skilled water treatment operators whose primary responsibility is to produce quality water that meets all the Canadian drinking water standards. Additionally, we are continually engaged with the Exploits Regional Water Supply Committee, which is comprised of representatives from 4 other Exploits region communities, planning future capital investments that will be needed at the water treatment plant. Facilities and wellness. Council recognizes that social wellness initiatives bring people together in a positive way and create community among citizens. In 2024, we plan to seek government support and to start the trails portion of Phase 2 of the Gorge Park development, which will offer residents and tourists another option to experience the great outdoors of central Newfoundland. Phase 2 will continue over the next 5 years to include a suspension bridge across the Exploits River and a cantilevered lookout off one of the trails. Council also continues to evaluate the option of a new community center and have allocated funds towards the design of detailed specifications. Final approval on the center will still depend on funding opportunities from the government and other stakeholder input, which will take place in 2024. Finally, we continue to support the Grand Falls-Windsor Community Healthcare Coalition Committee, who continue to study, research, and investigate the plans from the Health Accord and the provincial government. The committee works tirelessly to advocate for healthcare needs of our citizens and continues to ensure that Grand Falls-Windsor remains at the forefront of discussions related to healthcare. Revenue. Revenue for 2024 will total $22.2 million. As always, the majority, approximately 87% of this amount, represents taxation. Grand Falls-Windsor continues to grow as evidenced by the value of permits issued in 2023. There was over $11 million in commercial construction value generated and approximately $5 million in residential construction value. As we head towards 2024, with an added focus on housing initiatives and commercial development, we hope to exceed these amounts in the coming years. Some businesses will notice a small change to their mill rate this year as we continue to reconfigure the general business tax category to more appropriately group and tax businesses. Other than this, all other business taxes remain the same for 2024. The 2024 schedule of rates and fees, which includes all rental fees, permit fees, and tax rates, is now available on our website at www.grand www.grandfallswindsor.com. Expenditures. Total expenditures for the 2024 operating budget are projected to be $22.2 million, a 4.7% increase over the 2023 budget. Almost half of these expenses relate to the Public Works and Development Department, which takes care of most of the services that residents enjoy every day, such as snow clearing, water supply and distribution, sewage collection and disposal, garbage collection and disposal, in addition to maintenance on parks and green spaces. Costs within that department have increased by over $800,000, which is mainly due to the rising costs of water chemicals, the increased maintenance of parks and facilities, and the increased cost of garbage disposal. Finally, we have reduced the operating surplus, otherwise known as capital revenue, for 2024 in comparison to previous years to ensure the impact of these increased costs on residents is minimized. That number is only $434,739 for 2024, which means we will have less of an operating surplus to apply against our capital expenditures. Community requests. Community groups remain an integral part of our town and bring value to the lives of our citizens in many different ways. Some of the groups that rely on support from council are the YMCA, Corduroy Brook Enhancement Association, Grand Falls Golf Course, Heritage Center, Community Garden, Community Kitchen, Curling Club, and other sporting groups such as Grand Falls-Windsor Minor Baseball and the Exploit Soccer Association. There is also continued support for the Lionel Kellen Hospice, as 2024 marks the final year of the town's 3-year commitment, totaling $75,000, as it gets set to open its doors. There is also funding for the Grand Falls House Foundation as the group continues to work towards redeveloping the property and area into a tourist destination. Council also supports the arts community in many ways, including through the return of the now biannual art procurement, support for the Kiwanis Music Festival, and funding allocated for the addition of murals to be completed throughout the town in 2024. Capital expenditures in 2024. We have invested significantly over the past number of years in our infrastructure and equipment, and that will continue into 2024. Our total amount of capital spending projected for 2024 is just under $11.7 million, with anticipated funding from various government agencies expected to cover approximately excuse me, $6.5 million of that total. The total investment is expected to grow in our 5-year plan as we continue to plan for significant projects such as a community center and Gorge Park Phase 2 development. Work plan for 2024 includes continued investment into our capital replacement strategy, which started in 2019. The plan regularly requires changes as we evaluate equipment that is scheduled to be replaced. On the list for 2024 is excavator, high-pressure vacuum truck, and ice resurfacer for the Windsor Stadium. Several accessibility improvements include a wheelchair lift for the town hall and an accessible kayak floating dock. Fire hall training smokehouse, electric vehicle charging stations, funding allocated to start the detailed specification design on a possible new community center. There are still plenty of steps to complete prior to this, including funding for applying for funding and receiving input from the community. However, we wanted to include in our capital for the start of this project. Commencement of Phase 2 of the Gorge Park development. First stage will be trail development around Gorge Park, which will take place over 2024 and 2025. Engineering design for the Grand Falls House Foundation regarding the required work on the house and property. Continuation of downtown water, sewer, and storm sewer projects, in addition to additional funding for more projects to replace the infrastructure throughout the town, and street paving program. Mr. Mayor, Council, and residents of Grand Falls-Windsor, I present to you the 2024 municipal operating budget. We have taken great strides to minimize the impacts on our residents and to ensure our operations remain effective and comprehensive. We have created a budget that is fiscally responsible and ensures that we are able to achieve the service goals that residents of Grand Falls-Windsor have come to expect and deserve. Gordon Pinsent also used to say about Grand Falls-Windsor, this town is not just grand, it's great, and we aim to keep it that way. I move adoption of the 2024 municipal operating budget.
Thank you. Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Deputy Mayor Brown. Any discussion or comments on the budget? Deputy Mayor, go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Just a few comments on the budget, and any time certainly we can maintain our services and offer improvements over the next fiscal year and not have a tax increase, I think we're doing okay. And certainly the reason we're able to not have a tax increase because our servicing debt ratio is low compared to other communities our size. And that allows us to do that for this fiscal year, Mr. Mayor. Some of the highlights I like are the $4.6 million in the infrastructure, water and sewer infrastructure, which is badly needed in our town. And I think Councillor Cody rather said earlier that the consultants did mention that our aging infrastructure when we were speaking with them last week, and so that needs to be addressed and needs to keep being addressed as the years go by, and we'll get rid of some of that old infrastructure that's been in the ground for over 70 years in some locations. I would suspect Phase 2 of the Gorge Park with the walking trails will be a welcome by the citizens of Grand Falls-Windsor, I suspect. Grand Falls-Windsor is a healthy town. You need to only go for a walk in the spring or summer and see the amount of people that walking. And so they'll have new trails to walk on and new and improved trails as well. And certainly the housing. It's been a tough year for housing, for people trying to find a spot to live and for people trying to afford to buy a house even. And the price of the houses are skyrocketing, like everything else, I guess. One of the main reasons I like the fact that we don't have a budget increase is that the cost of food alone is having a very negative impact on our senior citizens and our citizens in general, but particularly our senior citizens, because most of them are on fixed incomes. So every time the food goes up, they're negatively impacted by that as well. And certainly the $250,000 for the new excavator and the $730,000 for the new high-pressure vacuum truck. $150,000 for our firefighters for a new training facility for a smokehouse there on New Bay Road, and $200,000 for a Zamboni, which is much needed. We had troubles with our Zambonis in the last week and 10 days, and we had to cancel some events, unfortunately. I think the Zambonis are being repaired as we speak, or waiting on some parts for another, but that's good news as well. So a good budget, like I said, people can expect the same services, and people can expect improved services over the next fiscal year, and that's why I'll be voting in favor of the budget. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Any other comments? Councillor Little.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be echoing some of the things the Deputy Mayor said as well. A lot of exciting things in the budget, a lot of discussion, not to get into numbers, but there's discussion of the Gorge Park trails. Even the community centre is discussed in there, a new community centre potentially is discussed in there. The refurbishing of the Grand Falls House and grounds is in there, like some money towards that potential project. A lot of great things, and the fact that we did it without a tax increase is rather remarkable in some ways, and I think Steve Goss should take some credit for that, trying to steer us in the right direction, as difficult as that can be sometimes. And Deputy Mayor mentioned the new Zamboni, which is hopefully it gets here before we really need it, but we don't know. The new Aquatech, which I think we already need, and that's a very expensive piece of equipment, $730,000, and when that's an expense that we are able to include in the budget without raising taxes again. It was a lot of very difficult decisions, and I think this is something that we can all be a little proud of, that we didn't have to raise taxes to do what we did, and it's a very positive budget in my eyes, and Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Little. Yeah, an excavator and a vac truck and a Zamboni, 1.2 million. Thank you very much. And who would like to go next? Councillor Hiscock.
Thank you, Mayor. As the Deputy Mayor stated and Councillor Little stated, a great job by, I like to call him our Minister of Finance. I do. And Steve, and of course Pete, and of course our CAO. Can't leave him out because he was involved in a lot of these discussions. And I'd just like to let the residents know that this took a lot of time, a lot of hours that we were in chamber going over this. And our emphasis, and I think everybody, Mr. Mayor, was on the same boat, that we did not want to take away any of our services, but also we did not want to hit the residents of Grand Falls-Windsor with any kind of an increase. So I thank you to our finance team and of course our CAO, Mr. Mayor, and I'm definitely voting the acceptance of this budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hiscock. Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to echo the same discussions, I mean, I'm not sure if the word ever gets out about the work that goes on behind the scenes to come to these decisions, and for all those bodies involved. Again, thank you, Manager Steve Goss, for so many times, redirecting us to find ways to save some money. It's easy enough to spend it, and we just see that everything's continually increasing in price all the time. To come in with a budget as big as it is, it's a pretty big budget for a rural community, shall we say, but still a lot goes on. And I don't want the citizens of the town to think that this decision comes lightly. I mean, there's a lot of hours goes into this, and a lot of discussion. I mean, and we may not always agree on everything at the one time, but at the end of the day, we all agree that this is a great budget for the town of Grand Falls-Windsor. So, thank you, Mayor.
Yep, thank you, Councillor Knoll. Councillor Cody.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Dwyer. You held it to the end barely. It was starting to get difficult, but appreciate that, and appreciate the Director of Finance, and of course Robin Hannaford, our Communications Officer, for putting together the document and presenting it so beautifully, so that other people can also enjoy not just what's in the document, but the aesthetics of the document as well. So thank you for that, Robin. $22.2 million budget. Very, very, very difficult to present a balanced budget without a tax increase to our residents. Yes, we did get some additional revenue from the assessment increase, but our department heads and council and our CAO, line by line, trying to figure out, how we can make this work, where we can cut, where we can maintain, where we just can't make it work any longer and just have to bite the bullet and, find the money somewhere to, to proceed with certain things that we need to do. So it's not lost on us that, while there is no tax increase, everything has increased for the town of Grand Falls-Windsor and for our operations. So it is going to be a very difficult year for council and for our staff in moving ahead this year and trying to maintain what we have with the amount of money that we've budgeted with our expected revenues. So, it's difficult for us, the same as it's difficult for our residents and our business community with the increases that they're facing. So, we'll do our best. We'll maintain our services. We will do what we can to make sure our infrastructure lasts. Our asset management plan, we will be finalizing that. That'll be presented to council in the new year. That will help us plan better and do better work in managing our assets. What do we replace? When do we replace? What needs upgrades? What the lifespans are on existing infrastructure? So, that's going to be very important to us to have that plan in place. Any additional funding that we can get, if we can get some, Housing Accelerator Fund money, that'll help us in improving infrastructure, which would hopefully initiate some more housing starts, which long-term, that would generate additional revenue to the town, but short-term, it's going to be difficult. So, we'll be diligent in doing this work, making this budget work. When you look across the province in comparison, Grand Falls-Windsor is doing very well from a revenue expenses perspective. You look at neighboring communities, less population and a higher budget to maintain that community. You're looking at 1,000 residents more in Grand Falls-Windsor compared to a neighboring community, and over $800,000 more to operate in that community than it does in Grand Falls-Windsor. So I think that speaks volumes as to how we manage our budgets, how we manage our departments, and how we manage our infrastructure and our equipment. So again, thank you to everybody involved, to staff especially, for the work leading up to this presentation. And of course, because of that, I will be supporting tonight's budget as well.
Thank you. I guess that, well, you go ahead, Councillor Dwyer, yes.
Thank you,
Haven't
Mayor.
really had an opportunity to say much, have you? Other than be prepared.
Obviously, we're very happy to report that there's no change to the residential and commercial property tax mill rate. And as you all said, we did work very hard to ensure that we could maintain that as a community. Our expenses increase the same way that the average citizen's expenses increase. We see it, though, in the millions of dollars. And, when paving, for example, our anticipated expenses are 30% less than what they come in at, then, we have to make some changes and rethink. So, we're very proud, as Andrew said, with what we've been able to accomplish. And we're also very proud to say that Grand Falls-Windsor is still the lowest among comparable communities in terms of taxation per average household. And that is very important for us. Obviously, this town is very well run. We are a lean organization, and our citizens' our tax dollars, which account for about 87% of our revenue, are really put to good use. And so sincere thank you to our staff, our directors, Steve, Todd, and Nelson, management, our CEO, CAO, Darren Finn, and my fellow councillors. While we haven't and don't always agree around the boardroom table, our discussion and our debate is necessary and healthy, and I appreciate it. I love this community, and our town, I believe, is second to none. And as we said, we plan to keep it that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dwyer. Okay, a few comments from me before we get into a vote. Pretty clear where the vote is going, I think, and I too will be supporting this budget wholeheartedly, and all the time, and that was put in has been said many times, and it's all part of the process. I know we often spend times going through line items from every department, one by one, to see if there's a box of paper clips or something that we could do without. And tell directors lots of times to go back to their budgets to find savings, which is not always easy on the departments either. I think it would have been very easy this year for us to have a tax increase, in that we know inflation has hit municipalities just as hard or harder than the regular individual. But it really comes down to, as has been said, we really recognize the impact on our citizens. And it has not been an easy year for people. The costs have gone just crazy in many cases when you look at food, electricity, and so on. So we really wanted to make sure that we weren't putting any extra burden on the taxpayers with an increase to the mill rate. And again, as I mentioned last time, Councillor Dwyer mentioned, the mill rate in Grand Falls-Windsor may be higher than some other communities, but it's deceiving because you're not comparing apples to apples. But when you look at the average taxation, Grand Falls-Windsor remains the lowest average taxation in the province with comparable communities. Lower than Gander, lower than Corner Brook, Lord and CBS, Paradise, Mount Pearl, St. John's, of course, and we're very proud of that. You know, and it is difficult, and I'm sure it's going to be a tough year for staff to continue to live up to that commitment. I know they can, but it's not going to be easy to live up to that commitment that we want to remain where we are with regards to the things that we're doing. All these quality of life initiatives that we've been introducing to the community, and those are things that we can control, and there's so much in this world that we cannot control. So for us to have extra events and programs for people and to focus now on accessibility in 2024 and actually having a committee who will be made up of citizens to provide input and suggestions to make our community more accessible is all definitely good things for the community. And infrastructure, I mentioned the 3 pieces of equipment, 1.2 million. You know, when you look around town, certainly there are tons and tons of improvements that could be made, or even in some cases replacements that are necessary. But the reality remains that when you look at the infrastructure costs, it becomes so important to prioritize what we are going to replace, where things are going to be replaced, because we just can't do it all at the one time. And I joke sometimes, but I don't think it's too far off to say that if we had $1 billion, I'm not sure if we would be able to do everything that we would like to do. $1 billion. So it is that challenge, and we're not unique in that, certainly, but it's something that we're up to. And housing was mentioned, and there was a lot of talk last year around housing, you know, the difficulty to find a place around here to live. Council have been working on the housing issue for a long time before the accelerator fund that we have applied for, which hopefully will give us good money to be able to boost that. But we have identified land around the community where land can be developed. Council is in favor of tiny homes, or in favor of multi-units. We're in favor of these developments. People need to understand that council are not housing developers. And in many cases, we rely on the private sector to do the developing. But we hope with these programs offered by the provincial and federal government that we can get more help and developers can get more help. And we're looking at ways to subsidize additionally developers so that we can make it easier on them to build that much needed housing. And commercially, we revised our commercial business policy, land policy to sales, which amounts to about a 40% reduction in cost to someone who wants to buy commercial property in Grand Falls, Windsor. We've changed zoning in areas of town to allow areas to have multi-unit developments like we really need, particularly the ones that are favorites of seniors, we'll say, who may want to move out of their homes and into something a little easier to maintain. So all that said, you know, there's a lot to get through, and I think, you know, thanks to Councillor Dwyer and all council for all the work that you've done and all the hours that you've put in, and to staff as well, of course, all the departments, not just the directors, because I know all work gets funneled down and everybody has a part to play. So I think everybody did a great job here, and I think that everybody is pleased that we were able to bring this forward tonight, and I hope the residents are also pleased with this, and we look forward to a prosperous 2024. So that's all I have on the budget. I assume everybody is done with their comments on that. We've got a mover and a seconder, so I'll call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay. Now we got to get anticlimactic. And we'll move into other business. So we'll start tonight with Councillor Dwyer. And just coincidental that
Yes,
you're up again.
exactly. I won't say too much this evening. I think I've said enough. My voice is not going to take a whole lot more. But in keeping with the Gordon Pinsent theme, certainly Gordon Pinsent passed away this past year, so we wanted to include him in our budget speech. And we did that. So, Merry Christmas from John and his missus. I'd like to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a safe and prosperous Christmas and New Year. Please, if you're indulging over Christmas, please drink responsibly. And we did attend Mothers Against Drunk Driving ceremony just in the last few months, and it's very sad, and we don't want to add anyone to those statistics that we saw this year. But we do, certainly, our family wishes you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Brown.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few notes here. I'd like to acknowledge firstly the passing of Vera Mercer, who was the mother of our Director of Community Services, Todd Mercer. And our condolences to the Mercer family on behalf of council and the residents. Never an easy time to lose a man, but especially not easy at this time of the year. So do Todd and Rick and Donna and Ann and Kim and their families their sincere condolences on behalf of council and I say the residents. I got to attend a couple of events in the last little while. One in particular that I really enjoyed was the Special Olympics Christmas party. And I know some of our council was completely under the weather at that time, but what a great event, and always fun to go to spend some time with our Special Olympians. And our congratulations to Colleen Ryan and her board of directors who look after the Special Olympics all 365 days a year. So congratulations to those people, and just a tremendous Christmas event they had at the Anglican Church, and big dance after, which is the highlight of the Special Olympics. All the Special Olympics events is that dance. And also the seniors movie over across the street at the theatre there in Ermire. Thanks to Sean and Jackie Feener for accommodating us for the free seniors movie that was well attended and enjoyed by all. And Merry Christmas in particular to our staff and to you, Mr. Goss, and your department for all the work you put into that budget over the last 3 months, I suspect, if not 4. Thank you very much. And to all our staff, about 120 staff, I think, in total we have. So a Merry Christmas to everybody. And to the people of Grand Falls-Windsor, Merry Christmas. It's one thing we can count on, is that people of Grand Falls-Windsor are very kind. So if you know of somebody that's a little down on their luck or having a hard time this Christmas, don't be afraid to reach out and help if you are able to do so. And certainly to my fellow councillors and you, Mr. Mayor, Merry Christmas, Mr. Finn, and all the directors, and like I said, all of our 120 staff, which we're quite proud of all year round as well, and not just at Christmas time. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Brown. Councillor Cody.
Thank you, Mayor. When you said anticlimactic, I had to think. I attended a reading of A Christmas Carol by Northcliffe Drama Club, and I tell you, Scott Sims, the teacher up at the high school, was Scrooge. And I tell you, he killed it. He was so good. And everybody who participated, actually, but Scott in particular, he was the epitome of Scrooge. It was just so good. And that's a reenactment or a reading that they do every year at the Memorial United Church, and they raise money for the Grand Falls-Windsor Bishops Falls Community Food Bank in doing that. So this year they raised $400 in donations at the door. The club, Northcliffe Drama Club, matched the 400 in memory of their member who passed away this year, Terry Brown. So they donated a total of $800 to the Grand Falls-Windsor Bishops Falls Community Food Bank. And Mary Kelly, who's also a member of the club, spoke at the end about preparing the hampers this year. Last year in 2022, they prepared 328 hampers. This year, they prepared over 400. So you can see how the need has risen. So to be able to make that contribution of $800, I'm sure will go a long ways in helping to sustain the food bank as well, and help them fulfill the need in the community, because it is growing. Couple of things that I did attend, the Off the Cuff Community Chorus concert at the Cathedral. No, where was that to? That was at the United Church as well. Lindy Witt and the choir, and like a great job. Beautiful selections, just another event to get you into the festive mood. To all of the schools who did their Christmas concerts with all the children this year. I know the parents just love to be able to get out and see the kids perform. A lot of work goes into those. Kind of, you think doing budget is hard. Try getting a classroom full of little children to sing on key and the right words and keep your antlers on and all that fun stuff. So hats off to all the teachers for doing that and doing a great job. The university students are home. The town is buzzing. At the high school this afternoon, they had the diploma distribution from the grads last year, an award ceremony. So everything is just, everything is really amped up. You can feel the Christmas spirit in the air. So I just want to wish everybody, all our residents, from myself and my 3 kids, Isaac, Faith, and Teresa, 2 are home from university. So it's nice we're all in the house together again. And a lot of people are still traveling home. The weather, I'm sure, is wreaking havoc on some travel plans. So I just want to wish everyone safe travels. I hope that you all get home safely and soon to your families, get to spend that quality time. Have a wonderful holiday, and I wish everybody a healthy and a prosperous 2024. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I always thought that the highlight of the Christmas concerts was the kid who didn't obey anything and didn't sing on cue and was over just doing his own thing, right? Or her own thing.
Else who doesn't own that child, it's a delight.
Right.
The person who owns that child, it's a nightmare.
Thank you, Councillor Cody. Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to add to what Councillor Cody had mentioned about something being in the air, and I'm sure everybody's seen the news and the weather upcoming, shall we say. So just an ounce of prevention for residents. If you can clean up around the house, make sure the drains are all clear and there's no obstructions, and batten down anything that might be loose, like all those blow-ups that we have seen around town, because we do have a good storm en route right from the Caribbean to Newfoundland, so it's a good one on the way. Batten down those. An ounce of prevention goes a long way. And again, as Deputy Mayor had mentioned, it was great to attend the Special Olympics Christmas dinner and dance, and it was a great time. Again, hats off to Colleen and their entourage for all they do. And I mean, just the amount of smiles is amazing. And I mean, it's just hits you in the heart, and sit down and talk to them. And it was just a great night, just great to be a part of. Something a little more serious for me is just to reach out to residents if possible. Through the town and through the high school, we've got a little collection of data on the go, basically, for areas that might have less than sufficient, I'm trying to filter my words here correctly, or less than adequate or desirable cell coverage within the town of Grand Falls-Windsor and surrounding areas. If anybody does have a home and you're dropping the calls, or you're driving around town and you frequent an area and you're dropping your calls, reach out to one of the councillors here or the CAO at 489-0407, so I get the right number. And we'd like to push this as a community. Grand Falls-Windsor is a growing, bustling community, and to have less than adequate cell phone service, I think, is a disservice to the residents of town. And I know lots of times I'm aware of where these places are in town, so you can't make a call before or after, because it is Bluetooth while you're driving, so you're not on your cell phone. I'll throw that in, but we've got some areas of town that we really need to address, not just for personal use, but I mean, like, it's a safety issue. If you're in an area and you need to reach out and you don't have cell phone service, we need to get those areas addressed. So please reach out to us as councillor, CAO, your MHA as well. Please reach out to somebody, but let's try to get some of this directed. But in summer, I guess, as well, I want to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. I happened to frequent the mall this afternoon, and it was rather chaotic, to say the least. So please be patient. Turn the other cheek, and if somebody cuts you off, there's no such thing as getting your blood pressure up about something like that. Please take your time. Be a little more considerate this time of year, because everybody is in a rush, sadly. But we don't want any tragedies, so an ounce of prevention, again, goes a long way. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Noel. Councillor Hiscock.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. One was earlier in, I think it was November month, the fire department, of course, had their Fire Prevention Week, and one of it was a contest for kids in school to design a escape route from their home. And the prize was, of course, a ride in the fire truck to pick you up at school and drive around town and everything, and then a meal or a little lunch at the fire hall, which was great. It was a great day. The winners were London Holloway in grade 5, Catherine Peddle, grade 2, and Peyton Watson in grade 1. And unfortunately, London was sick yesterday and couldn't attend, but this will be done for in the new year. But it was a great day. It was a great bit of fun. The kids picked them up at the school and in the fire truck and drove around town, went to the fire hall, then a tour of the fire hall, a lunch, and then little tour around town and past their home and back to the school again. So it was just a great day. A big thank you to, of course, Chief Mackenzie, Deputy Byrne, and as well as firefighters Brian Boone, Nathan Sullivan, Ryan Stacey, and Captain Mike Goodger. So, and myself and the Deputy Mayor and Councillor Cody were there, and it was just a great bit of fun for sure. On a little solemn note, Mr. Mayor, as we speak right now, we have 3 residents of Grand Falls-Windsor flying across the Atlantic, going to Latvia on a 6-month deployment. Anyhow, please excuse me, I get most of what are men and women in uniform. Hunter Thompson and Sam Gardner and Nick Rice are going away for a 6-month deployment. I just ask people to keep them in their prayers, and all of our members in our uniform, our forces. Also, Mayor, if I may, on behalf of my wife Cheyenne, a big happy Merry Christmas to one and all of our staff, of course, and yourself, Deputy Mayor, and my fellow councillors, and our friends who come and from Rogers, and our friends in the gallery, and my buddy, former mayor, and all of our friends in that. We'd like to thank you all, and everybody have a safe Merry Christmas and a healthy New Year. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hiscock. Councillor Little.
Thank you, Mayor. One thing I'd like to mention is the Dinner Theatre had their Christmas show last week, week before, I can't quite remember now, but John Thompson, the producer, said it's been probably the most successful show they've had. Every night was sold out, plus a few more that he jammed in. And he's very, very happy with how it turned out and the attendance and the show. And he's very, very excited about next summer's show. He's already thinking and working on that. And I'm sure that'll prove to be a very, very entertaining couple weeks in the summer for us next summer. Besides that, it's just Merry Christmas to everyone. And thanks to our friends at Rogers for coming out each and every 3 weeks to capture all this excitement for us and for the community. And yeah, so this Merry Christmas to all my fellow councillors, Deputy Mayor, Mayor, staff, directors, Robin, all very wonderful people. And to all the citizens.
Start naming them. Thank you, Councillor Little. Okay, that leaves me, I guess, just a few closing comments for me. Day before on Sunday at the Badger Diner, Lillian from the Badger Diner wanted to go above and beyond as they have in previous years, and they made a stuffed chicken breast dinner with all the fixings, coffee, tea, dessert for as many seniors up to 100 as could get there. So she wanted to make sure that she was helping those particularly who lived on their own and needed the boost. So I thought that was worth mentioning at this time of year. I know previously they did it on Christmas Day, and it was a bit hectic for them, so they decided that they would go a week earlier this year. But thanks to Lillian and all the staff at Badger Diner for that. Driving around town this evening, noticed that the Christmas lights are very bright around town. So I'd like to thank all the residents who took the time to put some lights up and to add to the beauty of the town. I've got mine up inside. I usually get my outside a little done there on Christmas Eve. So stay tuned for that. But, you know, it was a year that obviously we lost Gordon Pinsent, and is a man who will always be cherished for sure. And, you know, for you to include him this in your speech was very nice, I thought. So to all our staff and citizens, you know, I want to say Merry Christmas on behalf of me and my family to yours. I hope everybody has a very safe Christmas. Thanks to Rogers, who volunteer here all the time, and to our citizens. I do want to mention that Patient Connect, this has been mentioned here many times. If you don't have a family doctor, go on patientconnect.nl, I believe, and you will get the ability to put your name down to get on the list to see the family care team. And those who have done so have been getting calls. So appointments have been going through the family care team now, and people who don't have a doctor, Patient Connect is the way to get that. And Christmas time for many is a tradition of World Junior Hockey Championships. And this year, I'm pleased to say that my cousin Gary Furlong, his son Jake Furlong, is on Team Canada. So we will have some indirect representation from Grand Falls-Windsor. Of course, Gary was a great athlete in his day here in town, in hockey and in baseball particularly. And Jake is the captain of the Halifax Mooseheads. So he's doing very well for himself, and a San Jose Sharks draft pick. So Gary and family are gone over to Sweden for Christmas. Swedish meatballs instead of turkey for Christmas dinner. But just so people know, and I'm sure many do, but I thought it was worth mentioning that accomplishment. So everybody, thanks to all the counselors and thanks to staff, and I hope everybody has a great Christmas and a very happy New Year. And with that, I'll call for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Cody, seconded by Councillor Knoll. All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? See you next year.